and welcome to the Omnibus Collectors Network, the manga show. It's Thursday night, so it's manga night for all of you regulars and new people maybe in the chat, hopefully. Tonight, I'm joined with a very special guest, my friend Steph over here. Steph, you can introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, I'm Steph. I make baking content and also anime manga cosplay content, so...
And Steph is on YouTube as Baker Girl Steph. And is it the same on TikTok?
I have my separate Baker Girl Steph for both YouTube and TikTok and Twitter, and then Steph.Lafayette for TikTok and Instagram.
Okay, awesome. And Steph was part of the San Diego Comic-Con crew this year. We had a lot of fun together. And we are here to talk about some spicy manga. James with the boobs comments. It'd be funny if Jess showed up and talked about his love for Oppai. Jess is one of the other guys here on the show, and we do talk about his love for the booby books, as I like to put it. So where do we start? I think first I should say my journey into reading Spice began much more recently, and prior to recent months, and like talking to you and some others about this type of content, like I had not ventured into this realm of things. So a lot of it is very new to me, and I feel like part of that might be because what I'm noticing is in the US, publishers seem to more recently be embracing certain types of spicy content a lot more now than they were before. Yeah.
I feel like especially Seven Seas with their different branches, with like their newest one, the steamship, that was for the ladies.
Yes, specifically, I think that's how they state it, is like steamship is I don't know if they say it on the books themselves, but on the website it was like romance series geared towards the ladies or something like that. And steamship has like maybe a handful of titles right now, like
I think 3 at the moment.
So there's Game Between the Suits, which was really the first one that I read.
Yeah, what's the first one that came out was the Outbride.
Okay, I have that one actually here.
Yeah, that was first. This one was second. I'll Never Be Your Crown Princess, and then Game is third.
And then they've got they also have their steamship line, or not steamship, ghost ship line. Ghost ship is typically more geared towards stuff that's like male gaze spice, fan service, like that type of stuff. But like you showed, Fire in His Fingertips is part of Ghost Ship. And I think that if it was launched now, this would probably be part of Steamship.
Probably.
Because it is geared towards the ladies. It is, very much, but still a lot of fun for the guys, definitely.
Yes. Yeah, they have the 3. They have the regular Seven Seas, which our Teachers Are Dating is on that one. This one's more of a like mild romantic GL. The Ghost Ship with Fire in His Fingertips, and then now the Steamship with the I'll Never Be Your Crown Princess.
It is interesting to see, like, the way that they break things up, because like most the Ghost Ship stuff is mostly like, I've got the 100 Girlfriends That Really, 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 Really Love You is under Ghost Ship, and looking at my shelf to the side of me, the Darling in the Franxx adaptation is there as well. Like a lot of those series that have kind of that fan servicey stuff to it. If the fan service is a really big part, a big aspect of it, then it usually falls under Ghost Ship. To Love Ru Darkness, Yuna and the Haunted Hot Springs, and with that, like, that's where you find like those really like the ecchi shonen titles where when it's published in the magazines, they usually don't show 100% of the spice, but then like the physical editions get printed with full everything's hanging out, you know.
Yeah, I was surprised with I'll Never Be Your Crown Princess, because it's still a little hazy. Like they still tried to do the lightsaber, but you can actually see an outline there. So it's like, oh, you wanted a lightsaber, but there's actually some detail showing through.
So on that, which series? Okay, so also under just 7Cs, and this one's not necessarily spicy, but it does have some of that stuff, and it does have you know, I also hesitate to call it a BL, but it does have, you know, gay relationships, was Killing Stalking, and this was not under either line. It's from 7Cs. It is a manhwa or a webtoon, and it is more of a thriller, like terror type series, but it does strongly feature a relationship, you know, between the protagonist and antagonist, or like the victim and the although the assailant is the word to use there, but you know, the two guys here, and there is some lightsaber action in there where like it just shows the glowing white instead of actually showing anything. So that one, you know, that is censored in this way, but then you get stuff like and let me, where's my first volume of it? You get stuff like from the, I don't know how much of this is okay to show on YouTube, but Dick Fight Island, that shows everything, but they put a line like on the base of the member. Yeah. Like instead of like, I don't know, I've seen stuff before where like they maybe put the line up here, but it was literally like down here. And I didn't see the point in that. Like, why are you trying to block out the part right between the meat and veg? That doesn't really make sense to me.
So separating the salchicha from the meatballs.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so this is a new realm for me, like reading these things. But it's so interesting, like how different these stories are when what I've noticed in reading these, like how different the characters and the focus of the stories are when you're reading something that's that is Josei or that is geared towards a female audience, as opposed to these titles that are geared towards a male audience. And so that's where you get stuff like, you know, Game Between the Suits, which you and many others were very adamant about me reading.
Yes. And Fire in His Fingertips.
Yes, yeah. And so that's why those were the first two that like I really jumped into, because you and many others were like, if you want to experience the spice, you got to read those.
Can't go wrong with them. One that I wish, there's one that's really good that I wish would get an official physical, or there is a translation for it, but it's on a website. I forget which one it is. But this one definitely needs an official physical English translation. It's the Tadano Renai de Kikonai, the one I always tell you about.
Yeah, I've heard you talk about that one a lot.
I mean, it's just two attractive protagonists doing the dirty in an office setting.
Okay, so one of the things that I've noticed, and now I'm very critical of it because I've noticed it even more, is like when you're looking at that kind of male gaze focused like shonen romance type stuff, and sometimes the seinen romance, the male character is usually very boring. Like,
yeah,
very much like the most plain, unexciting guy that you could ever like think of, but for some reason he's getting attention from everyone. And you can take, for example, like harem series, like the one I'm most familiar with because I read the entire thing would be Love Hina. And that series, like the main character there really doesn't have much going for him, but like for some reason literally everyone around him wants to be with him. And like, you know, the comedic aspect of that is just the awkwardness of him getting around it or whatever.
No, that was one thing that a lot of people would talk about, is how a lot of these male protagonists are so boring, but he's like the the dreamboat or something. It's like, what in what world? In what world?
Yeah, they treat like the all the women in the series treat him or other male protagonists like they are the shit. Like they are the top tier guy ever. And it's just like he's, I think, obviously created to be an everyman so that like more of the audience can relate to this character. But it doesn't really, I don't know, it doesn't make it as interesting, and it makes it like I can only suspend my disbelief so much, right? Like it's hard for me to sit there and believe like 14 different women would be like interested in this guy that's like got nothing going for him at all.
Yeah.
But then you get stuff like, you know, like Game and Fire in His Fingertips, and these guys like they're attractive, they're like, and depending on, obviously each woman's going to be into something different, but like the guys in both of these series are very I don't want to, what's the word, not forceful, but like they know what they want.
Yeah,
And
they're direct.
they're very direct. Yes, they're very direct, and I think that that's something that like those shonen romance and harem protagonists lack, because that's usually how the issues happen, is because there's miscommunication and them being like, oh no, like now I'm caught in an awkward situation where like the 13th woman in my harem is trying to like touch me or something, and it's like, man, like just tell her no.
Yeah. Another one that I've told you about was Yakuza Lover, with the main protagonist being the leader of a Yakuza, and then the female is a college student that like is in debt and stuff, and he falls in love with her, and he's like, I'll spoil you because I love you, or something like that. This one, I tell people to read it if they want to read some good, spicy trash. Like, we know there's no good
Yeah.
story plot. It's just garbage that you want to enjoy, you know? You're a raccoon. This is your dumpster.
I literally have not heard anyone say anything like objectively good about that series. It's always people like saying either it's terrible, don't read it, or like I know it's terrible, but I love it.
Yeah,
There's
that would be
no,
me.
there is no one beyond that. There's no one saying like this is absolutely peak. This is the greatest thing ever.
We know it's not. It's it starts slow and then it goes into a whole lot of them doing the dirty nasty, and then we finally get some like drama in the last 2 volumes that we just got, like in 4 and 5. So there's definitely some stuff happening there, but it's not like the greatest romance or the greatest spice or anything like that.
Right. And it's a shoujo beat, so it's not going to be able to be that like spicy as some of the other stuff.
Yeah. Another shoujo beat one is Midnight Secretary, but this one has vampires. So you got vampires in there and a handsome male lead and just pretty people doing things, you know? I feel like that's what you get with shoujo beat. It's pretty people doing the dirty nasty.
Well, that is, that's the difference between like the male demographic stuff and the female demographic stuff, is because like the female demographic stuff, it's usually both parties are attractive, whereas in the male demographic stuff the guy is not like, they never put him up to be an attractive guy. But like when you look at like the main character, like the male character from Game, he's fit, he's lean, he's muscular, he's like, you look at him and it's like, you know, body envy for me, or like, you know, the ladies look at it and it's like, yeah, like this is someone that like that gets me going. Oh, this is a good question, actually. So since Right Stuff stated they're cutting the spicy stuff because of the Crunchyroll buyout, where do you plan on purchasing these? They're not cutting any of these that we've talked about so far. So we on this show, actually a few weeks ago, I think we covered, not Steph and I, but Gio and I, my typical co-host, covered that. And the only things that they are not going to be selling on Right Stuff specifically, that they're moving over to, what's it called, like Arrow something or other store, Arrow manga store. The only series are going to be ones from actual like H manga publishers, like J-List and Faku and stuff, those are being pushed off. But you can still find stuff from Sublime. You can literally, you can find Dick Fight Island. You can find
Fire in His Fingertips.
Dick Fight Island Volume 2.
Semelparus.
Yeah, Semelparus, Boys of the Dead, which I just read part of. You can still
Stalking.
All of these game, all this stuff is still on and going to continue to be on Right Stuff. Anything that's not going to be on Right Stuff anymore, anything that they were going to remove, they've already removed it. Yeah. So Booty Fight or whatever, Booty Royale is still on there. Like that kind of stuff is all still on Right Stuff, and it's going to continue to be. But if in the meantime, before they launch the Arrow Manga store, or whatever it's called, the one that is spinning out of Right Stuff, that's going to be specifically for H manga. There is you can go to Anime Corner Store, and they still have that stuff right now. Eve, that's what you're looking
at. A lot of these you can still pick up at Barnes and Noble too. Yeah. Yakuza Lover, I'll Never Be Your Crown Princess, Birds of Strong Law, Fire in His Fingertips, Our Teachers Are Dating, Therapy Game, Killing Stalking, Semelparus. There's so much that Barnes & Noble actually has in stock, and you can always look on their website and see if it's local.
And that's actually where I did pick up several of the ones that I'm showing on the show tonight. Specifically, and I talked about this last week. I talked about how I was gonna buy Semelparus, and I went to I told Steph this yesterday or whatever, but I went to Barnes and Noble, and they had the first 2 volumes on the shelves, and the covers for the first 2 volumes, number 1 is pretty tame. The second one is a little bit more spicy. It's got a little bit of action on there, but the third cover, we can't, like, it goes places. So like they didn't have the third one on the shelf, and I was like, what is up here? I guess they just sold out or something. And I go to check out, and I bring those books along with Wicked Trapper and Outbride, because I'm going for all demographics here. And I noticed that they were keeping it along with Dick Fight Island and some other books behind the counter. And I know it's not the same at every Barnes & Noble, because another Barnes & Noble I've gone to had Volume 3 of Semelparus at the shelves.
All of mine have had them on the shelf.
Yeah. So I got to go through the honor of like actually asking for that book. Like I had to be like, hey, can you hand me that? And literally when the guy turned around and like grabbed it, I was like, yeah, I know the cover is a little bit spicy. Like I like stumbled over my words. But yeah, I still got it. I still picked it up.
Yeah, I believe this whole stack right here is all from Barnes & Noble.
All Spice, all Barnes & Noble, all available. So another thing that I noticed, I mentioned already how it seems like there's more of a push for publishers to put out this type of stuff now than there has been in years past. But there's also been more of a push for the LGBT type of content. Both the spicy romance and just LGBT content in general, drama stories, autobiographical stories and stuff have become really prevalent. And now we have like publishers like Sublime, which has been around for I think 10 years or something. They recently
10 years. They're celebrating their 10th anniversary right now.
So Sublime's been around for 10 years, but I feel like they're stronger than ever. And then we have Kuma, which is under the Faku Denpa umbrella. Like Kuma is the BL branch of Faku and Denpa. So I'm willing to bet that we get more publishers that focus specifically on, like, there's not a GL publisher right now. There's only like the 2 BL ones. But I am willing to bet that we see something pop up in the near future. I feel like, do you think GL is less popular in general, or do you think there's just a less less
I
of
feel
it.
like it's both, because I would look at my collection and I'm like, I definitely have more BL than GL, especially because Sublime exists and it's so easy to get BL from them. Because right now I'm looking at my stack and I have, out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, only one is a GL.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I do have other titles that aren't spicy, like Donuts Under a Crescent Moon,
Right.
um, Goodbye My Rose Garden. There's a few GLs. It's just I feel like we don't get them enough or fast enough compared to how we get BLs.
BL's been a huge corner of the market too,
Mm-hmm.
especially recently. Like there's so much of it. I mean, obviously the two publishers that put it out there. So I feel like if there was like a GL publisher that would really help the cause, if you will. But yeah, like on the stacks that I have sitting here, literally the only one is Semelparus is the
Yeah.
only one that's like two women. And then I have I believe I haven't read it yet, but I have volume one of Chitose in the Ramune bottle, which I
Mm.
think is also like a high school GL romance.
Yeah, I have yeah, Donuts Under Crescent Moon, um Goodbye My Rose Garden, Cement Parus, I Love You So Much I Hate You, which is a one shot, and then Our Teachers Are Dating. And I think that's kind of like most of what I have. Because the majority of my other stuff is definitely GL or BL.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like looking at everything. I'm like, yeah, there's definitely not that much GL on my shelves.
Yeah. I think the two that I referenced are probably the only ones that I have, period. And it's wild. Like it's wild how like vast the difference is there. But so yeah, I read some stuff. I didn't read as much as I wanted to prepare to talk about things today and give recommendations and just kind of thoughts and stuff. But I guess I wanted to like make some observations about the spicy manga corner of the US market. And like
Mm-hmm.
the main thing that I was really interested in was how different these series are and like what makes them different, I guess, from those like the ones geared towards men. Because they're not H manga. Like
No.
Game Between the Suits and Fire in His Fingertips, they're not H manga. Like
Mm-mm.
and I think there's like this very different like H manga is so much more like exaggerated and like it's just bang 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 like the literally but that going into the action like that. Whereas like Josei romance, spicy romance, Josei feels like there's build up and it's build up and payoff.
Yeah.
And beyond just that, there's typically underlying drama or story that you find yourself interested in that carries you through. And it's not something that you're reading because you want to read just something horny. Like it's something that you're reading because it's like it has that aspect, but it's like it's dramatic and it's interesting what's going on with these characters. Like
Yeah.
the Game Between the Suits, you get these characters that it's the game is have this physical relationship, but whoever falls in love first loses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Basically.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. And then I find myself sitting there like after I finished it, I was like, I really hate the male lead because he's an asshole. Like he's like so dominating and forceful on everything with the female lead. And it's like, you know, I wouldn't feel that, I guess, with like more male focused things. It wouldn't be like that same drama.
Yeah. There was one series or one book I picked up because everyone was hyping it up, and it was Shiori's Diary. And that one was absolutely just no plot, no nothing, just straight up this woman finds out that her husband's having an affair, so she decides to go cheat and like just sleep around with everyone and anyone she could find. So the volume is literally just page after page of her doing the deed with a bunch of men. It's like there's no plot or no thing in there.
That and there's, you know, there's a time and place for everything, and there's, you know, people who want to have that, but it's like I think that it's really important to designate the differences between these things, because like not everything is like that, but for someone on the outside looking in, there's just this view that everything, you know, that is spicy is just the same nebulous level of spice, right?
Yeah.
But like we have stuff like, you know, Prison School and Raw Hero are very much not going to be the same as like, you know, Fire in His Fingertips. But this is like falls under, I would say, like sex comedy and stuff.
Yeah, kind of like High School of the Dead. That's like the fan service type that we were saying about. I'd grab it, but I'm kind of stuck.
Cat on the lap there.
Cat on my lap, and then the other one with his cone. Here.
Do you have the big fancy High School of the Dead?
No, I have just the regular solo volume of it. It's like comedic fan service, what we were talking about. Just like it's entertaining. It's there.
There's also like, because there's comedic fan service series like that, and like Prison School and stuff, where like it's put there, especially Prison School, like to a level of, and I haven't watched or read High School of the Dead yet, but like in Prison School, it's exaggerated so much that it's obviously like supposed to be just hilarious.
Yeah.
But like with stuff like you know, there are other series where they just put it in there, and that's where I like find myself being annoyed with fan service, is like if I'm reading a shonen title that it really doesn't need to be there, or it's played like seriously instead of being like a tongue-in-cheek comedic thing like that. Or if it's just boring, you know, like I
felt that with Food Wars, because everyone kept telling me watch Food Wars, and I'm like, okay, and me being the chef, I'm like, I love anything that has to do with food. And then just right away we get so much fan service. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't mind it, but when it's excessively, and I'm like trying to just enjoy a recipe there or something, I'm like, nah, I can't. There's only so much of this I can just consume at once.
I did enjoy Food Wars, and that was probably the most fan service heavy series that I read and enjoyed, because it is so ever present in there. But I felt like it was like parodying that because of like how ridiculous it was. Just the fact that like fan service existed in a food series. But like if you're going in only wanting the food and you're just getting like people's clothes exploding while they're trying stuff, it's like, come on.
Yeah, it gets old after a while, but I mean, it is entertaining. It is, you know, it's there, but it's like there's only, after like doing it 5 times in a 20-minute episode, it's like, okay, can I just look at the food already?
I think it does calm down a bit like after a while, because it's like they almost, and I never watched it, I only read it, but like it's like they want to establish it, and then as the series goes on, you get it less and less and less, and it does focus more on the characters and stuff rather than like throwing out the random scenes. It's either that or I just got used to it. I don't know which, because I might have just got used to it.
Probably a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Well, I've definitely read, I feel like I've read a little bit more than you have, so I can definitely talk about a few series, because I got it separated by like BLs, a GL, and you know, the regular spicy stuff.
So we get some Steph recommendations.
Yeah, we'll go from food, since we're on the food topic. One we can talk about is, I mean, Tokyo Pop has also been really good with, you know, posting or sharing some good series. So one of my favorites is this one, Sherry, My Destiny, where you have a pastry chef from France who meets a pastry chef from Japan, and they have conflicting ideologies about what a great pastry is and what you should be offering in Japan. So it is a one shot, and then there is spice between them. It's like rivals to lovers type of thing. So if you want to know about pastries and you want a lovers or a rivals to lovers, this one's a great one. By Tokyo Pop, and this one I found at Barnes and Noble. I think Right Stuff also has it. Another one that I believe does have quite a bit of interesting spice is The Cornered Mouse Dreams of Cheese. So for this one, we have a man that's married and is he's suspicious that his he has his wife who suspects that he's cheating. So she hires a private detective to spy on him, but then ends up falling in love with him. So we got the husband that is being accused of cheating, and then we have the private investigator who does, he becomes the mistress.
Was this also a single volume?
It is. It is a one-shot, but there is a spin-off to it. So a few of these have one-shots, like also Sayonara Game, but they've got spin-offs to them. Mm-hmm. So for this one, it's I don't see it. Something about fish on the chopping block, or it's a very interesting title. I believe it's something about the fish on the chopping block, something other. I cannot remember right now, and I don't see it behind me. But it does have a continuation. So, but this one, Sayonara Game, is also a BL that they were two friends that played baseball together in high school, kind of drifted apart and then met again in an older age, and just pretty much confessed that, they've had feelings for each other and get together. And let me see if the spice is uncensored, so you see everything, literally everything. But this is a one shot, but it does have a 2-volume spinoff called Change World, where it just kind of goes on with their relationship and with, I believe, another friend's relationship. So I have that one back there too. Another good one from Sublime is 10 Count, but this one can be triggering because it does involve about mental illnesses and mainly OCD. So our main protagonist has OCD, doesn't like germs. He's compulsive about keeping his hands clean, not touching anything, washing himself, and just he cannot not constantly clean himself. So he ends up meeting this guy that is a psychiatrist. But due to conflicts, he's like, I don't feel comfortable with you being my professional psychiatrist while I'm trying to heal. And I would rather you not do this professionally with me. And he's like, okay, well, I'll help you as a friend then. And he starts trying to break him out of this whole compulsive thing and make him more comfortable with touching, a glass that was put down already, or doing this or doing that. So I believe there's 6 volumes for this one. Yes, 6 volumes. I just got volume 5 in. But it has spice. It has some intense stuff. I can show you a little panel here. So the main guy cleans his hands so much that they start to crack and just get bad. So the psychiatrist guy friend is they're helping him get over it, so in a spicy way. And then what I told you about yesterday that I can't really show the cover,
yes,
Birds of Shangri-La. So we have our male protagonist here, who is a straight male who just divorced his wife because he found her cheating on him and just needed a change. So he ended up leaving to this private island that is also a brothel, where that's called Shangri-La, where the little birdies, where this main guy works at. So they get clients to come, and his job is to keep the birds fluffed. So he's the fluffer of the island for all the workers there. So there's conflict there, and the main guy here ends up getting curious about what it would be like to be with another man. So they dive into that a little bit. For a more cute, wholesome GL. Switching gears to something a little more cute and wholesome is Our Teachers Are Dating. This one's a 4-volume series. It's about a PE teacher and another teacher in the school that get cheered on by other teachers and students to, be together, and they end up dating and falling in love. Super cute. I can't show you this cover because then what are all these covers? I can't. So it's 4 volumes. It's very cute. It's very wholesome. If you want some GL, I recommend that one. And then, of course, Yakuza Lover. We got 5 volumes so far. Again, you're a raccoon. This is your dumpster. This is just it's a very fast, easy to read. There's spice in there. He's a Yakuza syndicate. She's a college student just trying to get through life. We just finally got some drama between a woman that's obsessed with our male lead. And yeah, this one, very entertaining. If you want to just waste some time. And then the steamship one we were talking about, I'll Never Be Your Crown Princess. I actually really enjoyed this one. You have the prince here. Yakuza Lover, our favorite trash. Yes. Our blonde lead here is the prince of a kingdom. Our female lead gets isekai'd into this world with magic and everything. She's a teenager. She's 18. And she gets a fiance who is the prince. And he's just 3 years older than her. So she doesn't want to marry him and ends up deciding to go to a masquerade to lose her virginity so that she doesn't have to be, married to this prince. So she finds a mysterious man that she ends up having spent the night with. And turns out it's the saying, "Oh, I use magical powers to trick you. Ha. You're stuck with me," type of thing. So it's very good. It does show lightsabers, but with detail, which I have not seen yet in a manga. But yeah. And it's the prince.
I remember talking about, it's the prince. I talked about that one in one of my YouTube videos when it was coming out, and I thought the premise sounded funny because it's like she's trying to not, get with this guy, and then she gets with the guy by accident.
Yep, because he changes his hair black with magic. So it's very good. I actually really enjoyed it. I read through it so fast. He said, "Gotcha." Exactly. And then the other one that we've got you to read, Fire in His Fingertips.
The famous Fire in His Fingertips.
The best Fire in His Fingertips. So it's childhood friends to lovers. She ends up she lives in an apartment complex that ends up catching fire. He shows up to save her because she got trapped. Then she's like, "Wait, you're my friend I grew up with," and they start a relationship. It's actually very cute, very entertaining.
You know what, on that one, I liked, so he is very dominant and very confident and knows what he wants and stuff. But as you go through that, just the first volume of this series, you start to see that's kind of on the surface, that's kind of but beneath the surface, he has feelings beyond just the physical, and he's scared to move on that stuff. And so by the end of the first volume, it was kind of hinting at that, and I liked that aspect of it, that it wasn't just oh, here's just two people getting really physical. But it was something where I was like a little bit apprehensive, I have to admit, because like you know, it goes straight in, like in that first
Yeah.
chapter. Like she moves into his place and immediately, because she like puts the barrier and she's like, this is the no sex zone, and he's like, oh, so that means everything else is the sex zone. And like
Yep.
immediately they go down, and I'm
Yep.
like, no.
Hey, yeah, literally flipping through. It's like, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Within like 9 flips, you're already getting to the good stuff.
Yeah. And it gets hot and heavy real fast.
It does. There's a lot. If you want some good smutty smutness, fire in his fingertips. And this one does have an anime.
Does it? No.
It does. It has 2 seasons. The only bad thing is they're like 8 episodes long, so it's just like, a quick watch. But there is an anime for it if you want to watch it.
But they are like, both characters are interesting. Like neither of them is one dimensional. They're both layered, detailed characters that are interesting to follow, and it also has a lot of heavy spice.
You can't even open the book without landing into a page
literally
with booba, dude. I opened it to the shower scene.
I opened it and there was like full on sausage in that one. And that like, it's not censored whatsoever either.
No, this one is except for volume 4. Volume 4, we did notice that they censored the intercourse part. I don't know what words I can say. They censored the salchicha going into the hot dog slice. The salchicha getting put into the hot dog buns. They censored that, but everything else was uncensored, which was interesting. But yeah, she like works in an office. He's a firefighter, so we see their lives outside of each other and being independent. But yeah, I think that's the whole spice I've read. Because I have other like BLs and GLs that don't have that much spice, like Given, Donuts Under a Crescent Moon, like I've mentioned. Puppy Love, if you want some wholesome. And Our Dining Table. So those are both one shots.
Those are the 2 that I recently ordered because you recommended me to pick them up, because they're more wholesome. And what better time to mention the sponsor of our show, InStockTrades.com. I completely forgot to do our sponsor plug at the beginning of the show. We're sponsored here by InStockTrades.com, where you can buy your comic books, manga, hardcovers, all that, up to 50% off, $50 or more, free shipping. InStockTrades.com, all that good stuff. Our regulars know about this, so nothing new. Thank you so much for sponsoring our sexy talk, I guess, tonight.
Thank you for sponsoring this hot dog fest. We appreciate it.
And they do have some of the, I didn't check what they have before the show, but they do have some stuff, like especially I know that they had Devil's Ecstasy. That's another like male focused one by Shuzo Oshimi. Fan service titles like, I don't know right now, but like Prison School, I know Raw Hero was on there. Shonen romance like My Dress Up Darling, stuff like that is available on InStockTrades.com.
Yay. Coming back to Killing Stalking, since we talked about that, there is another one that I feel like is similar to that type of feel of, gory with the smutty aspect. I trying the best
hard to describe.
It's very hard to describe. So this one has a main character that has a very interesting kink. And he summons demons. He's trying to summon demons, and he summons one that right away offers him to eat him. So we have a male lead that eats a demon and does things.
Okay.
So it's very, very, it's an intense read as well. So if people enjoy reading Killing Stalking, they would enjoy reading Mad K, or vice versa. If you enjoy Mad K, you'll probably enjoy Killing Stalking. Enjoy sounds very wrong when talking about this. But one thing I do admire, do appreciate from these publishers is that they do put like the parental warnings, and like they do describe what you can expect. So in here it says it's rated M for mature due to graphic imagery and mature themes. So, and a lot of these do come wrapped. So,
And the plastic wrap means you know what you're gonna find.
Good. Yeah, and it does have the explicit, mature content warnings. So, I do say though, after all of this talking about spicy manga or like different genres and different BLs, GLs, and everything, do look up trigger warnings. Do look up a little bit of the synopsis as well as what you can expect to read about, because you never know what's in these.
Yeah, so with any like adult oriented titles, like whether they're with the spice or just for action or gore or whatever, like generally if you have certain things that you're not okay with, you got to look at that stuff. But yeah, I did enjoy, if that's the right word, reading Killing Stalking. And I know it's not for a lot of people because it deals with some pretty heavy stuff, but like it felt like watching these thriller movies and stuff. And like I don't know there's an adaptation of this, but I could imagine there being like a film adaptation of this story because it was so like engaging. But it feels weird talking about it in like this setting because it's not a romance series. It's not a spicy series, but it does have scenes. But essentially, for anyone who's not familiar, you have the main character is is stalking this guy that he's obsessed with, and he's been obsessed with for a while, and he's trying to like at the beginning of the series break into his house by like just guessing what the code on the door is. And right when some cops are there, like kind of questioning him about why he's at this person's house or apartment or whatever, he gets the correct code and like makes his way in there. And the guy comes back home, and so the main character's hiding from him, and he winds up finding a woman like tied up in his basement, and he's like, yo, what? And so the dude like knocks him out and ties him up, and it leads into like a lot of torture and stuff like that, but like also kind of going into this kind of, I guess describe it as this kind of Stockholm syndrome type thing where like the victim starts to, because he's already like obsessed with the guy, but then he starts, I don't care that I'm tied up and getting like tortured because I get to be here with him and like kiss him and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
So there are like, there are physical scenes between them as well where like they are doing stuff together. And I'm talking about Killing Stalking Volume 1, right? It is a manhwa series.
I forget what platform you can read it on, but this is the physical that we just got, but you can read it online.
And on the back it says 7seaswebtoons.com. And it's full color. It's a $28 volume, and it's in full color. I made sure to find a spread that was not.
Find something that's not completely inappropriate to see, yeah. And we've been getting a lot more manhwas and webtoons and everything like in physicals. Like I just picked up Semantic Error during Comic-Con weekend.
Yeah, that's right. So there's a anime coming out for Killing Stalking, but a lot of women are not happy about it because of the extreme amount of violence towards women in the series. I don't know if it like gets worse as it goes on, because in the first volume there's only the one woman that like is kind of a K-drama, not an anime K-drama.
A K-drama?
That makes sense. But I mean, the first volume you only have the one woman that's already tied up, and like he does wind up doing stuff with her, and the rest of it is like, you know, he has a guy that he traps, and there's the main guy that he's already had, the main character that he traps and stuff like that. So yeah, that series but it was entertaining. I think that maybe that's the right thing, like it not enjoy, but like I was entertained reading that series, and it's beautifully illustrated for the subject matter that it has.
Yeah, it's definitely something different than has been read or seen.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk. So my usual co-host Gio talks about this book almost every week, talks about this series almost every week, and I finally got the first volume of it, and that is Interspecies Reviewers. I got it because someone was selling it online, and I like was already trying to buy a couple other things from them anyway, so I was like, throw that in there. And for as much as Gio talks about it, I'm sad to say I really did not enjoy this first volume of this series. I can see why someone would, and it's a comedy series that is, and he's explained it a lot, but just a quick synopsis for anyone that's not familiar. It takes place in like a brothel where there's all these different like monster people. So like, fairies and succubus and like cyclops and cow women and stuff who are inside this brothel and like provide services to the guests, I guess. And it's literally like the focus is on reviewing each type of person that like comes through, and like, or everyone that the different types of like monster people. So it's like, oh, well, this elf really did not like this cyclops person because they were freaked out by how big her eye was in comparison to her face. Like, I think that was really one of the things that happened. But it's like when they say interspecies reviewers, that it's quite a literal title. It's different species reviewing each other from a physical relationship standpoint. And like I can see how people would have fun with this, but for me, like it wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't great for me. It didn't really do it for me. The art's extremely cartoony throughout, so it's not something that like feels like it's very spicy. It's like cartoons with big ol' yitties and stuff. As opposed to like, and maybe that's because I'm coming off of the very realistic stuff like Fire His Fingertips, game in between the suits and stuff like that is a lot more realistic. But I'm sorry to Gio that I did not enjoy the interspecies reviewers as much as he probably hoped I would. But one that I started reading and I have enjoyed so far is the Zombie BL Boys of the Dead. It's an anthology volume with like 6 different stories that are focused on different couples. William and Adam, Linus and Connor, part 2, I guess. There's 2 parts for Linus and Connor, 2 parts for me and Lawrence, and then a memorandum at the end. So there's 3 different couples that the stories focus on, and it's like a little journal of their stories. I read the first story and it was pretty enjoyable. The artwork is really, really great. It's set in a zombie apocalypse. So if you enjoy zombie stories, it's set during that time, and like just how these people are dealing and dealing with their relationships, I guess. I don't know. I really dug it. What I've read so far is really good, and it's only a single volume also. So if you're interested in something like that, it is a $15 single volume from Kuma. You get the bear on the spine there. And it has a dust jacket also. And it's a notebook underneath.
That's cool. That's a cool volume.
So far I can recommend it.
Yeah, I started Therapy Game last night on recommendation of Marshmallow Bonbon in the chat. This is one of her favorites. And it starts, I've read the beginning, so it starts where I believe he's a straight male hooks up with this guy that saved him from being super drunk, and dude says, I'm not interested in you. I'm not interested in you like that way. So then dude's like, okay, well, I'm gonna convince you to like me that way. So I believe that's how the game starts, where the blonde one is like, I'm gonna convince you that you're in love with me. I remember the manga I read from long ago. Nice. Kuma releases are in very good quality.
Yeah, they Faku and Denpa, all like that entire triad umbrella of things, do really good quality releases. Apparently Faku is trying to like make a brand name for all of them or something. Because certain creators in Japan like don't want to let Denpa license their books because they're associated with the H manga publisher, and so they're like, okay, let's get a bigger umbrella to cover all three, and then we can start, talking with those publishers and stuff.
And also, Therapy Game is not censored, so you get salchicha and a meatball clip, or we're just say meatball sandwich in here. You get the whole meatball sandwich.
Ramiro wants to know if we've read
A Town Where You Live. I've heard of it, but I've not read it yet.
Okay, I need to find out how to put a picture up, because there's one that I don't have. Maybe I could just put it as my background or something.
Yes. Okay, so Shizuma is the straight drunk, and Minato is the one that saved him. Therapy Game is good. It's good so far. Like, I literally just read it up until like this much, and I'm like, I'm thoroughly enjoying this. I also, while reading, I was like, I'm gonna mark all the good spots. So if I need a reference to them, I can. So Blonde decides to take revenge. Have him. Oh yes, it's revenge by falling in love and break their hearts. You get the whole torta de albóndigas. Yeah, there's a few that have the whole torta showing. So I like that. We're just gonna go with torta now. The art in this one is very pretty too. Like, I was very intrigued. Chris kept trying to talk to me. I'm like, I'm reading something. Leave me alone. This one's very good. I forgot what he did. I was sitting there and he made a noise, and I'm like, what? He's like, I didn't say anything. I'm like, oh. He's like, you got to get your head out of that spice. It's too good, though. It was too good.
I can't figure out how to show a picture because I'm stupid, so here's the cover.
Oh, I'm not me. Yeah, you talked to me about this one.
I talked about this one at Comic-Con on the panel. This was the first spicy quote unquote thing that I read, and it's really not like, it doesn't have actual scenes. There are no actual tortas in here, or tetas for that matter. Like, there's like under torta or there's torta bulge and under teta, but like nothing else.
No melones in there. No tortas or no melones. Dang.
So you get a little bit of like, you have, it's understood, it's implied tortas, and no chorizo in this one. Like, it's implied. You see the guy's bulge. It's a sex comedy though, And I had such a fun time with this volume that I did mention it on the panel as like one of my favorites of the year. But part of that was because I really could not think of another new adult series to talk about. Because all the like adult oriented, like, you know, seinen titles that I read have been ongoing for a while. So
Mhm.
I mentioned this one because I had literally just read the book and I thought it was so fun. The main character is this guy that works in he's an ad man. Basically he works at an ad agency, and he's very attractive, and all the women like just it's like they can't help themselves around him. But he's very afraid of women, and when women approach him, he sees them as like literally wild animals. Like he envisions them as like tigers and lions and alligators and stuff like
Oh
that,
my.
and exact lions and tigers and bears. And he envisions as if they're coming to attack him to devour him, and that's why it's called I'm Not Meat, because he's like, you know, I'm not just meat here for you to devour. And so a lot of the chapters are him getting like uncomfortable in these approaches that these women are having with him. But there's a woman in there who's also like not interested in him at all, and she's the only woman that like he never sees as an animal. And she's like also the one defending him against all these others, because it's all like it's mostly happening in the office. And so it's his like coworkers who are like putting him in these situations where they're like, you know, pinning him against the wall and like, you know, pushing him to the ground and stuff. And she'll come in and be like, this is harassment, this is sexual harassment, you need to get off of him. Like,
Oh wow.
so it's I really liked it because it's like they're they're not just playing around with these concepts for fun and laughs. Like there's, you know, it seems as if there's stakes there as well. Like, you know, they're not just going to let this guy get harassed constantly. But it was, you know, it's the reactions to all this stuff are fun and funny, but it has a good amount of depth there, and it's I believe it's only to be 3 volumes long total.
Okay.
So it's not a super long series. It is published by Seven Seas. Um, the first volume is out now. I don't know when the second one is due out, but I had a lot of fun with it.
Man, Seven Seas giving us some good stuff, man.
Seven Seas, like 2 years ago on this channel, I was talking so much crap about Seven Seas because all it was like isekai and crap that, like, you know, I didn't care about. And they, I think, have turned it around quite a bit. And it's like the what I believe it's like they invested a ton of money into smaller, cheaper licenses during the first, you know, I don't know how many years that they've been in business, and then now
Mhm.
they've made enough profit off of that to where they can start like investing in bigger licenses, more well-known series, and things that people really want to see. And so that's really exciting now.
Yeah, they've got Tokyo Revengers. I mean, that was a big one for them.
I know when we were talking with Kodansha at San Diego that Misaki said that she was surprised about that herself. That
Yeah.
she thought that they were going to print the physicals, and she was like, I don't know what happened. So I'm guessing they completely just sniped it from them.
Oh
So I'm
wow.
Not Meat 2 in November and 3 next May.
Nice. Oh, I hate when there's such far apart releases. Um, I'm like looking at everything. Yeah, because Seven Seas also got Skip and Loafer. They have one of the isekais I read is the Book Savior's Cafe in Another World. That one's not spicy or anything, but The Country Without Humans is another Seven Seas one I picked up. That's very, very good.
I didn't get to read it yet, but they have the Wicked Trapper. I was gonna read the first couple chapters at least before today, but I got busy and I couldn't do it.
It happens. It happens. We got the stacks to get through. But if y'all want some one shots, these are my recommendations. There's everything from some spicy to some mild ones. Um, Puppy Love is this one's just a wholesome, cute one. There's no spice in that one. But Our Dining Table too. These two are like the cute ones. Sayonara Game, I believe, is fully uncensored. It does have a spinoff, but you could probably skip it. It's not really that important with the Change World. Yes, this one is completely uncensored. You can see the whole torta getting drenched. So yeah, if you like tortas ahogadas, pick up this one. I believe this one is also fully uncensored.
And this one's a good question that you might be able to answer better. When it comes to spicy manga, do most of the characters give consent?
The majority of the time, I believe they do. It's, I think, in translation, when we read something and we see the protagonist saying no, 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 it's not so much where they're saying don't do it, but more so that they're shy and ashamed, because in a lot of these stories they touch about how once you have intercourse, you're no longer available for marriage. Like that kind of takes away your capability of getting married, because you have to be seen as pure and clean and everything. So when it comes to characters getting together in a lot of these stories, it's more so about like the timidness, the shyness, the, oh my God, no, don't look, don't do that, don't listen to me, make a noise or something, because most of the time it's inexperience. So I think a lot of it comes down to just the character being shy or experiencing it for the first time. So there are some that are considered a little bit of a SA, but I personally try to avoid that because that is a trigger for me. So of course, if you can differentiate, fiction from real life and can read something and not be affected by it, I'd say check it out. Just always read the synopsis, always see what triggers are in it. And that's...
I think oftentimes the best thing is like to wait until there are people talking about what's in it, so you can have a direct like reference to that and you can know like what it's about. Because for instance, like where did I put it? The Outbride, the main female character is 16, I think, but she's it's like 1,000 years or 2,000 years in the future. So like she's technically not 16, but like she was 16 and then went into the future. And the main male character is like 17 in celestial years. So like they are younger, but they're not. So like it's it's the same baloney that other series will use to like get around age stuff, and age is always a concern in a lot of these things. But that's also something that like I didn't know until like people were reading it and they were like, yeah, the series is good, but like if you have issues with age stuff, keep this in mind.
Yeah, I think pretty much all this stack I have here are adults. So I'll Never Be Your Crown Princess, she's 18, he's 21. Talano Renai, adults. Office Thing, Fitness Fingers are adults. Our Teachers Are Dating are adults. Birds of Shangri-La, adults. 10 Count, adults. Yakuza Lover, adults. Sherry My Destiny, The Cornered Mouse, Dreams of Cheese, Sayonara Game, Our Dining Table, Puppy Love. They're all pretty much adult consenting stories. And Sweat and Soap is one that does give... That one, while it does give consent on all that stuff, it also does touch on bullying and going through that depressive moment. So that could also be a little bit of a hard spot for people to read about, how Sawako got, or not Sawako, how, I forgot her name, how she went through bullying growing up because of her sweat. So, but it's a good one.
And then Game is adults because they're both office workers in that setting and stuff, and it's consenting because they both want a physical relationship with each other. They're just hesitant about possibly falling in love and having feelings with one another. Then you get into like the shonen stuff, and that's where you get more high school characters. And 100 Girlfriends is not like there's not any. It's fan service, not spice. And even then,
Yeah.
like 100 Girlfriends is not the most heavily. It's not the heaviest example of fan service of stuff that like I've read or seen, but it's funny. The concept is funny, and the main male character is pretty plain. Like he's not the most exciting guy, but if you haven't heard the concept, it's like he has to find and like fall in love with, like have actual relationships with 100 different girls, or else if he doesn't, they will die. And because some sort of like mistake in the heavens was put on him where like they accidentally gave him 100 soulmates, and so he has to find them and fall in love with them, and they have to date him. And like the most unbelievable part about it though is like all of these girls have to also be okay with being in a polyamorous mega relationship.
Oh my god.
And thus far, like this is volume 3, like I've seen him pull together his harem of like 5 girls so far, and all of them are okay with it. They're not, it's not anything severe. They're all like holding hands and kissing or something like that, but like
Yeah.
you just have to, the shonen stuff is going to be high schoolers. The shoujo stuff will often be high schoolers as well.
Yeah. That's just where it comes down to demographics. If it's targeted for those young adults or the older adults, or high school. That's why everyone says that demographics are important, because it differentiates what is targeted toward what audience. But then you also have to look at the genres, and then also look at the warnings that they provide. But yeah, there's definitely a story for everyone out there, depending on how spicy you want. And
that's definitely what I have learned in the past like couple months, like kind of exploring these genres, is like you have literally you have spice that's grounded in realism, fantasy spice, sci-fi spice, like all that kind of stuff. And then you also, like, it doesn't have to be spicy. There's also the ones that are just plain old romance. You have GL, BL, you have bi, like there's a lot of bi romance out there as well. Like I think right now a very popular one would be My Love Mix Up.
oh yes,
It's a bi romance. And there's all kinds of stuff out there. So literally for everyone, literally for if you want spice, if you just want something cute and wholesome, like you talked about puppy love and all that.
Yep. Dining Table and Puppy Love. These are both two that you can read one sitting, one volume, one shot, and it's got the most wholesome stories ever. And the warnings on the back for 7 Cs, it just says teen, and for Tokyo Pop, it's older teen, age 16 plus, nudity, sexual content, and animal death. Which
that's a good trigger, because a warning, because I know a lot of people who do not want to see animal death at all.
It did have me worried, but you don't actually see any animal death in it. It's more so this is a story of a dog reincarnated as a person.
Yeah.
So you don't see an animal actually die in this or anything like that. It's more just to explain the story of how a dog came to reincarnate as a human.
So, and we talked about prison school earlier. I talked about prison school earlier. Where do we categorize it? So categorizing it as a demographic, prison school is a seinen title. But if categorizing into a genre, it is a sex comedy. It is a comedy series that uses sexual matters to push forward the comedy, heavily, like by featuring heavily like sexualized situations, at the like expense of it being comedic. almost like, you know, this is so extreme that it's hilarious. Like the what's her face having like the most revealing outfit of all time throughout the entire series at all times, and like the principal or whatever constantly having um the principal constantly having like porn or like horny stuff around him.
Devil's Line is one of my favorite seinens that I try to like push onto everyone because it's got so many different topics in the story. But it does have a little bit of spice here and there with the two main protagonists because they're trying to figure out if a vampire can mate with a human to create a hybrid in this world. So there are stories in different demographics where you will eventually see like some type of spice versus like, you know, where it's full on like meant to be a spicy story. So like for this one, this is ages 13 and up, but there are moments where it mentions a jail where both the vampire and the human can safely experiment, and it does show the melones, and you do see her start to go for the salchicha. So, and these aren't wrapped. This one's just readily available. It's, you know, one volume out of like 14 that you do see, you know, some adult content in it. So it's definitely, if you want to try to avoid that, it's definitely a good idea to just see what others say about it or what they recommend, because some of these stories that aren't even targeted as an adult book does have some form of spice in it. Given is also one that does have very adult topics in it. It touches on, you know, losing someone that you were so in love with and falling in love again. And this one says that it's rated T plus for ages 16 and up, and it does have suggestive themes. So, but it mainly focuses on the music, but you do see a lot of the background story with the individual members. Yeah, and it can be very heavy. So yeah, it's the spicy series we were talking about that are oriented for adults aren't the only things that, you know, does feature some adult content or, you know, suggestive content. There are just regular stories that you pick up that do have some of it in it, which is why they're either a seinen or something, and or a josei.
And that's where like I think people need to sometimes be careful, because like it's might not be appropriate for like everyone, even though it's rated for a certain group, and like maybe you're younger. And like I know when I was younger, when I first started getting into picking stuff up, picking up manga and stuff, I was grabbing series that like I would be reading and you have a scene of fan service in a shonen title, a shonen battle manga, and I'm like, oh geez, like I hope my mom doesn't like walk over and see over my shoulder what I'm reading right now. And like that's one of the things that why I don't like fan service in series like that, because like it's put in so many of these titles with like no, it doesn't add to anything, and it's just like I'm reading, I'm enjoying myself, and all of a sudden then there's like boobs and stuff. And it, you know, in the way that it is in most shonen stuff, it'll be like covered, like there's mist or something, like they're in a shower,
Yeah.
steam covering them up and stuff like that. So it's, you know, ever present in everything, and it's not always like appreciated. And especially like now that I'm, you know, I'm an adult, and a lot of the people that I talk to are adults, they have kids of their own, or like nieces and nephews that they're buying things for and taking recommendations for. And like you have to, you know, warn about what's uh you have to warn about what's in these titles, and be like, yeah, you know, Naruto is a very popular title, but there is fan service like right at the beginning
Mhm.
of the series. There's him doing the sexy jutsu, and like my 8-year-old nephew getting into it and stuff. I got in trouble.
It's unexpected.
I got in trouble
And
one time with the series Scried or whatever, Scried, because I bought the first volume and I was like 13, 14 years old, and there's straight up boobies in that, and I had no clue. I had no
yeah.
idea. And my mom, by chance, picked up that volume, flipped through it, and she's like, Lord. Yeah, this too in Naruto, Jiraiya writes the stuff and Kakashi's reading it the whole time. Like, it's there. Or in Bleach, you have characters who's like, their tetas are just hanging, like just
Yeah.
out there for everyone to see. Like, and then you get like later on, like Yoroichi, her butt's just out at all times. And it's, like, that's cool. And Bleach was probably a big awakening for me as a kid. But like at the same time, like, I have to be careful if I'm trying to recommend this series to like kids. I don't want my, their parents to get upset with me, and I don't want parents to put it on their kids without knowing and stuff. Like, that's where it gets a little bit tricky with these.
Yeah. And that's why, I mean, it's a good thing that there's creators now talking about different series, because then they're able to, read through it, and then if there is something inappropriate, they can be like, just a heads up, there is a scene or two where you will actually see some full on, chicken breastage just laying there, or, a meatball sub popping out. Critical with, I don't know, looking at the Booba magazines.
Yeah, a lot of I read Ranma, and exactly this. I read Ranma when I was in 8th grade, and I had it with me at school in 8th grade, and I went to a Christian school, a church school, with all the hoity-toity people, and like I had a volume of Ranma 1/2 in my bag, and like no one saw it, thankfully, but like, I was reading it in class, like while we weren't doing anything, or like, during free time or whatever. And yeah, there is nudity. Takahashi, she puts all kinds of, nudity throughout those things, and they are all shonen titles. All of Takahashi she does is all shonen, but there's plenty of nudity throughout that. It's never like eroticized though, I would say.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's like kind of sexy humor behind it.
Yeah.
I've been curious about that Who Wants to Marry a Millionaire, and I didn't realize it was a murder mystery.
Same. I saw it at Barnes and Noble, and I'm like, this looks so intense. And then I read that it was actually like a murder mystery type of thing, and I'm like, that. I wonder if it's good.
I didn't read the synopsis, but I did see it. Like, I was looking through the catalogs and stuff on Right Stuff, and was curious, like, what's everything that's in Steamship? What's everything that's in Ghost Ship? Like, and I saw that one, and I was like, huh, I wonder if that's any good.
Yeah. It's a surprise. Melones. Yeah. It's been interesting growing up without so much social media presence to like watch and see what people suggest, to now where it's so readily available to just find it, or see what others are saying about it. 'Cause back then we would just show up to like a Borders, flip through a book, and be like, this looks good.
R.I.P. Borders.
Rip Borders,
Pouring
man.
out for the homie. I think that's also a big reason why things have gone. Oh, I have to pause to say, yeah, Ladies on Top is coming out soon, and
Yes. Get the steamship
but
titles. Get those steamship titles.
I love I think that this, this era right now with all the social media and stuff is why we see so much more out there, is because the industry is making so much more money, because people are being told, being pushed into the stores to read this stuff, to buy this stuff. And like, you literally, I went to Barnes and Noble a couple nights ago, and they have a TikTok table. They have a
Mhm.
table of like books that specifically are trending on TikTok, so that if you come in looking for that, then, and I've heard the clerks and stuff at the store, people will come in and be like, hey, do you have whatever book? And they're like, oh yeah, it's over here on the TikTok table, because they've
Yeah.
clearly seen the videos about it. So like that has really helped push a lot of things. And even, you know, y'all have had the conversations like when we were hanging with Kadansha about like the rise in sales that certain things have had, because y'all talked about things like
Yep.
Devil's Line and Sweat and Soap and all of that jazz.
Skippy,
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 Skippy Steph,
Skippy, Skippy
DBZ.
stuff. Soon DBZ. But no, I mean, yeah, like you were said, I did bring it up with the Kodansha people where I'm like, hey, if you've seen an increase in Devil's Line, it's because we're here pushing it. We're back in the day, people used to gatekeep and be like, I don't want you listening to my music or reading what I read, or I want to be the only one that knows this. Keep it underground. And now we're like, no, you're gonna get annoyed. You're gonna know everything. I'm gonna tell you everything. You're gonna want to read this.
And that's something that I was talking with some I did a consulting thing yesterday where I was talking as a consultant because apparently now I'm considered an expert in like US manga, to where like the Japanese licensors and stuff, like a publisher hired me as a consultant and I talked to them yesterday. Anyway, point being, one of them was asking me about that kind of topic of like, how do you feel about some of this stuff getting to be so mainstream? Like, would you rather some of it be held back? And I was like, I do think sometimes that there are reasons why you might want things to still not be mainstream, because like some stuff can get watered down when it becomes so big. But I was like, I love to see these things in the hands of as many people as can have it. That's
Yeah.
like at the end of the day, that's always the best thing possible, is to see as many people have it. The issue is when, and I know that some of the publishers are hesitant, especially the ones who lived through the like stuff back in like 2010 where the market kind of crashed. But like the issue would be when they saturate the market with too much stuff and it's actually not selling. But I don't think we've reached that point yet where there is an
Yeah.
issue. And this is
Yeah.
also,
That
there are some issues with Barnes and Noble right now, but this is a big one that like each Barnes and Noble is doing their own thing. They are getting to put out the books that sell at their store rather than being forced to stock certain volumes, because like my Barnes and Noble near me, neither of them really has a huge selection of One Piece. They have a few volumes. Of 100 volume series, they only have a few volumes. Because if that series is not going to sell for them, then there's no point for them to stock it and take up shelf space with that.
Yep.
And the thing that they're not doing, and I think this was mentioned at the publisher panel at Comic-Con, was that they're not what used to happen was publishers would pay Barnes and Noble to feature certain series outward facing
like
on the shelves, like
this.
that, because that gets more attention. That gets they're like, you know, we'll pay you extra to hold copies of our new series and have it outward facing on your shelf. And they don't do that anymore. They don't accept those types of payment for them to do that. But what one of my Barnes and Nobles does that I think is really great is they have a big table for new releases where they're
Oh,
all facing upward. So you can see
yep.
the covers to all the new releases. And I think that's great for people who don't pay attention to everything that's coming out. That's a great way to see like, that's a new series. You see the cover, you don't see the spine.
Yep. And a lot of Barnes and Nobles that I've been going to have been moving from their traditional spot where they were having like where they would only have like 2-3 shelves to now like in the media center. So we have death to CDs and vinyls and DVDs, and manga's taking that spot now.
I haven't seen mine have a section of Sublime, but I think that would be a really good.
Oh, Kinokuniya has that here in LA. They have it separated by demographic, and on the wall where most of the shoujo josei is, they have a whole like Sublime section right next to it all.
I think that's really cool though. But what I've seen at both of the ones near me, both of them separate light novels from
Oh yeah.
manga right now, and I think that's great. Like, because it's easy to find what you want, and it's also less confusing to like go in and be like, I'm looking for the manga version of this, and then you get confused because a lot of them are both light novel and manga exist at the same time. So
Yeah.
I really like that type of differentiation. And I, in my personal library, I separate everything by publisher anyway. So like that's kind of the way that my mind, I sectionalize things off by publisher um, in my library because I see them that way. And a lot of times it's similar to with like Western comics like Marvel and DC. Each of these publishers kind of has a house style. Like their series often have um similarity to the way that they feel. Like Shonen Jump titles feel different than Shonen titles from Kodansha,
Yeah.
right? Like it might be something very subtle or hard to pinpoint, but they have a different feel to them. I just like the way it looks on the shelf when everything lines up with the same logos and stuff.
Yeah. Mine, I believe right now, I kind of categorized it by demographic and size. So a lot of this up here is shoujo. I got like some shonen here. I got Spanish and Japanese down here. The tall books up here. Some BL, seinen, other things there, and then the TBRs. Because I don't want to get rid of this bookshelf. I hate it. But it's, you always want to change it though. That thing is, and you have your visual collection there all the time, you just want to move it around, or you want to try like alphabetical or by color
Yeah.
or by size, or
Or by vibe.
by vibe. Yeah, my top shelf is definitely by vibe. I mean, show you this whole shelf has not moved. It's all just skip beat. This is permanently the skip beat shelf. Everything else always gets moved.
I like that's such a problem. Also, I'll walk in and like look at my library and be like, like, and I just think of like different ways. And usually it's like for me maximizing space. And I'm like, I could move these over here and these over here, and that would look good over here. And I have something in my library. I have a specific section in my library called my creator shelf, and where I have my favorite creators and like all of their works together. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so like I built that out of the necessity because like I was running out of space in one area with one of my publishers, and I was like, if I move all of my stuff by this creator to the same, I think it was with Rumiko Takahashi. I was like, if I move all of my Rumiko Takahashi work together, then I will save so much space in this section of my library. So I did, and I really liked it, the idea, the concept. So now I have like Takahashi and of course Junji Ito, and like I have like Tsutomu Nihei and Takahashi Inoue. So I have all these different creators that I love, and all of their works are together on that shelf. Um, and it's a cool way for me to organize it. But it did take a minute for me to get over the fact that like there's intermingling of the different publishers now.
Yeah.
I've got like vertical books next to Viz books and stuff.
Stack of shame. I got my stack of shame. Hold up, right over here. There's that lives separate. But another thing, talking about like running out of space and stuff, that's where my brain created the riser for double stacking,
Yeah.
because I'm like, I only had so much. I originally only had this in my apartment. Then we got this for free, and I'm like, I can't keep adding bookshelves, so I'm like, I'm just gonna double stack. So I'm like, I got a 3D printer. I can make pretty double stacking shelves now. But yeah, I even behind me, you can see I have a TBR cart downstairs where I also have a shelf that has books I need to read, and then in the cart I have what's priority, and then I have the 2 TBR shelves, and then everything else is on the shelves all pretty like. So there's just manga everywhere in this house.
That's the way to go.
Yep. The books just can't stay on the shelves for long without being moved around or being in a reading pile.
Yeah. Well, I think it's getting late. and we've been on here for over an hour and a half. So it's about time we can start wrapping up. But yeah, I think we covered everything I wanted to. I wanted to get in here and talk about some of the differences with like different types of romance and spicy titles, and like the things that, because there is a lot of preconceived notions and there's a lot of just, you know, a lack of knowledge by people, and that's not anyone's individual's fault. It's just, you know, things are not really advertised well enough sometimes. But you know, kind of talking about the way that romance and spice sometimes go hand in hand or don't at all and exist by themselves, and how the difference is between the stuff that's geared towards men and geared towards women and geared towards LGBTQ groups individually and stuff. So like a lot of different exciting stuff exists out there for literally everyone, no matter what you want. And it's great. I'm happy that the industry is expanding in the way that it has been in the past few years.
Yeah, it's definitely been really great to see different stories, different takes on you know, a romance or no romance or games or something. So it's been, you know, growing up on with certain series and then venturing out to, you know, more adult topics. It's been really fun to see all that and be able to actually have publishers finally, you know, bring more to the table and allow us to see different stories and just offer something new, especially with Kodansha with Boys Run the Riot. Like that, that's definitely a great series that they were able to offer us.
You're getting more trans stories out there. There's even like I think there's some asexual aromantic stuff recently.
Oh yeah, there's a I Want to Be the Wall, something about the wall. I Want to Be a Wall that also has that you know, you got married for convenience to satisfy your parents, but you know there's no interest there for each other, and it's kind of like your beard type thing, you know. You aren't happy with each other and you're both on the same page, and give each other the ability to like go explore, like what is it that you really want.
I love it. I love, you know, there's something literally for everyone, and if you don't
here are the five spices that I'm telling you to go check out: Fire in His Fingertips, Birds of Shangri-La, Therapy Game, Sayonara Game, and I'll Never Be Your Crown Princess.
I have the same stuff basically.
Yep.
No, I don't have all the same stuff. I have, in my recommendations, I will double on Fire in His Fingertips, but I have Game Between the Suits and Boys of the Dead that I'm still reading, but after one chapter, I can say that it's very enjoyable.
Yes, Birds of Shangri-La is very, very good. I think it's the drama aspect of it, the straight man leaving his divorce life behind, exploring new things, and then the murder mystery aspect too.
I recommend Monster, and I was like, yeah, I don't know about, you know, spice or romance or anything, but like, yeah, you know, Urasawa, always great.
Oh my god, yeah. Monster and the Beast. Yes, Birds of Shangri-La. Now it's your turn, right? You got to go get it too.
I have to get that one. You know which one? Just ending on one that I'm curious about is the Canis series.
Oh yeah.
Dear Hatter, Dear Mr. Rain.
I've heard about it. I haven't read it.
Mostly because the artwork is phenomenal. Like the cover art that I've seen is amazing. Mm-hmm. So I might pick those up, but I think the first one is waiting on a reprint. Because it's like, and this seems really popular, like from you talking about some of these things, like they're multiple like series and not just one. Like the first one is like the Canis Dear Hatter, and then the second one I think is Mr. Rain Volume 1 and 2, and then the third one is Mr. Speaker or something like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we need Volume 3 of Birds of Shangri-La. There's no word on it yet. Just like Fangs. Oh, that's another one I wanted to mention. Fangs. Spicy Vampire. There's 1 volume. We're getting volume 2, I think, this month or next month. So, yep. Yeah,
Awesome.
there's so much to read.
So many. I think like the easiest way to dip the toes in, if people are interested, is like pay attention to, if you want Josei romance, pay attention to Steamship. If you want seinen, like male focused stuff, pay attention to Ghost Ship. And if you want BL, pay attention to Sublime and Kuma.
Yeah.
And if you want GL, then I guess you just have to dig, because there's no one
Yeah,
presenting.
yeah. I mean, 7 Seas is pretty much the most that I have with GL. Semetparus, Our Teachers Are Dating, and Donuts Under a Crescent Moon are a few. Let me grab them real quick. A few that I have that are
And
GL.
if you want straight up H manga, go to Faku.
Yeah, so
J-List.
7 Seas has got these 3. This one, no spice. We have 2 volumes. It's spicy. It's rated teen. Our Teachers Are Dating is 13 plus. This one does have some suggestive spice, and Semelparus is straight up older teen because it does have full on nudity in there.
I did see that as I was flipping through.
Yes.
Like, hey yo.
Hey yo.
So, yeah. Wrap up, one more plug for the sponsors, InStockTrades.com. Thank you for supporting our show as always. You can buy a lot of the manga that we talked about at InStock Trades, if they still have it in stock, but a lot of the 7 Seas stuff specifically does get on there. I don't think I've ever seen Kuma or Sublime though, but a lot of 7 Seas, a lot of the stuff is on there, so you can find those for great discounts. Most manga has a discount of like 30 to 35% off, and you get like loyalty discounts as well, free shipping after $50, yada yada yada, all that good stuff. Plug in the sponsor. And there's some new comments that I haven't seen. Okay. Yeah, Faku.
Yes, Faku's still around. They were at Anime Expo.
Faku's around and strong. Faku is, I mentioned this earlier, they're the parent company of both Denpa and Kuma. Mm-hmm. So they're pushing out, but I like Denpa is like, they're trying to form a different like umbrella name for everyone. And the as well as that, I think Denpa is trying to go off without them a little bit more. And yeah, before we sign off, where can people find us? Where can people find you, Steph?
TikTok and Instagram as steph.lafayette. And on YouTube, Instagram, everything else, you can find me as Baker Girl Steph. All my informations are on my beacons or Linktree on either of those platforms and names.
And as for me, I'm on this channel every Thursday night, and I am on my channel, the Omnibus Collector, as my little name card shows. My channel, the Omnibus Collector, on YouTube. I'm also the Omnibus Collector on TikTok, and on Twitter, Omni Collector, because not enough characters, which is annoying, but it is what it is. So yeah, that's where you can find me. Hopefully I'll have a video up on my channel tomorrow if I can get it edited throughout the day, showing all of the cool swag that I got from San Diego Comic-Con a month ago, but better late than never.
Yeah, I'm very behind on things. There we go. There's my name. Just search this. You'll find me on TikTok. Should have done that from the beginning, but there's my name.
You can search Skip Beat Steph.
Or yeah, Skip Beat Steph. I will probably be the first one to come up. My content right now is focusing on going through my collection in alphabetical order, reviewing the manga I have, and cosplay. There's a lot of cosplay content that's getting posted right now.
I have no cosplay content.
There's all my wigs that I just used too.
There's no cosplay content. My TikTok is such like a shit show right now because it's just like whatever random crap I feel like posting. But that's also my Twitter right now. Like I'm just whatever I feel like talking about.
There's nothing wrong with that. When's the cosplay video? We got to get him into a Spike. You mentioned Spike to me, so we got it.
Was like when my hair is poofy, I feel like I can do it.
Yeah.
But I need to slim down a little bit to be confident. I just need to stop buying vast amounts of candy.
That's impossible. We know that's impossible.
I'll try my best. I spent $20 at a Taco Bell today, so like that's how my life is going.
That's fine. I just bought like a giant bag of large fries from a local shop and devoured those. So it's all good. It's all good. You know what? If you want to do it, do it. Don't hold yourself back. Do it. Enjoy your candy and cosplay Spike.
I'll be a chubby Spike. All right.
Gotta get to the death note. All right. Thank you so much for having me here. And as always, I enjoy talking about the spice. It was fun.
I enjoy doing lives with you as always, and you guys can often find me on her lives
Yes.
on TikTok.
Who knows? Maybe later there'll be one.
We'll see. Thank you so much for having fun with me. We'll do something again sometime. And
of course,
to the audience, thank you for watching and having fun with us. I hope that we were able to help to indoctrinate y'all into reading some spicy stuff and expose you to new things. Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.